Lobito, the Angolan port that is now the epicenter of a geopolitical tug-of-war. On Wednesday, 4th of December, US President Joe Biden decided to make his first and possibly only African stop as president. His mission? To champion the Lobito Corridor, a railway project that is meant to reroute Africa's mineral reaches from Chinese clutches into Western hands. Bold move, Joe. So now let's break it down. The US has thrown $550 million at this venture, with lofty ambitions to extend a railway from Angola's Lobito port straight into Congo's cobalt and copper heartland. For context, Congo's rich minerals power our smartphones, EVs, and ironically our dreams of a fossil fuel-free future. So naturally, everyone in China, the US, and Europe is salivating over it. The goal? To outflank China. But China has been elbow deep in Congo's mining sector for years. They're not just mining, they are practically decorating their homes with cobalt and copper wallpaper. The US, by contrast, is a latecomer trying to steal the spotlight. The first phase involves refurbishing the 1,300-kilometer rail line from Lobito to Congo. Sounds straightforward, right? Except no one knows when this phase will be complete. A senior US official vaguely gestured towards the end of the decade, and by then we'll probably have self-flying cars. The second phase, which aims to extend the railway into Zambia and onward to Tanzania's Dar es Salaam port, is even murkier. Groundbreaking is tentatively set for 2026, assuming of course no one decides to sabotage it in favor of an alternate route. Meanwhile, some critics are whispering that this railway could just as easily serve China's interests. Biden's sit-down with Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema was all about hope. Zambia, fresh off a $13.4 billion debt restructuring deal, is the poster child for how the US thinks African countries should handle financial crisis. But the issue here is debt. For all the talk about unsustainably high debt, the US is not exactly swooping in with charity. That $550 million loan is not free money. Someone will have to pay for those refurbished tracks, and it's definitely not the White House. China's shadow looms large over this entire endeavor. They've poured billions into African infrastructure projects, often with mixed results. Sure, some roads and ports sparkle with efficiency, but others lead nowhere. The Lobito Corridor is America's answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative, a statement piece in the global game of monopoly. But the US faces a credibility gap. While Biden was quite poetic about lasting engagement and Africa being on its own terms, critics argue that America's interest in Africa has been sporadic and self-centered. Did they lose a military base in the Sahel? Yes. Did they watch China dominate minerals? Yes. But Biden's visit to Africa, mere weeks before the end of his presidency, is something. It was a grand gesture, but let's be honest, grand gestures do not lay the foundation for railways or extract cobalt. Angola, to its credit, is hedging its bets. Traditionally cozy with China and Russia, it's now courting the West. Angola's president is no fool. He knows how to play suitors against each other. So, the Lobito Corridor could indeed be transformative, unlocking untapped mineral wealth and creating new trade routes. But could is the operative word. Without clear timelines, transparent funding, and unwavering commitment, this project risks becoming yet another white elephant on the continent. Meanwhile, China is watching closely. And if the US wants to outmaneuver Beijing, it will need to prove that it can deliver faster, better, and on African terms.